So today we are going to discuss another asset related standard, that is LKAS 40, investment property, right? So under investment property, so these are the learning objectives, right, which is expected you to achieve at the end. So first we should able to describe what is mean by an investment property, right? How investment property can be differentiated from other kinds of assets. Anit assets වලින් කොහොමද investment property අපි වෙන් කරලා අඳුනගන්නේ? For that we need to have a thorough understanding of its definition, right? Then explain the criteria to be met to recognize an investment property, right? What criteria need to be met in order for recognition? And then the initial measurement, right? And how to compute the cost of an investment property. And when it comes to subsequent measurement, right, how it should be, how can we use the cost model, how the fair value model can be used, those stuff. And then the transfers and disposals. When it comes to transfers and disposals, how we need to account. And finally, the disclosure requirements of LKAS 40, investment property. So these are the things we are expected to discuss, right? This is the most important thing, the definition, right? So based on this definition, we decide whether a particular asset is an investment property or not, right? So before coming to this definition, I told you this one, investment property, right, which is discussed throughout LKS 40, is an asset related standard, right? Asset related standard. It means what? If we take a balance sheet, right? Think this is our balance sheet. What we have assets, right? We have assets. These assets we classified into two main branches as what? Non-current assets and current assets. Non-current assets and current assets. So how this classification comes? Whether a particular asset should come under non-current asset, or whether it should come under current assets. ඔන්න ඔය distinction එක අපි ගන්නෙ මොකෙන්ද? අපිව guide කරන්නේ කොහෙන්ද? මොකක් හරි asset එකක් එන්න ඕන non-current assets වලද පෙන්වන්න ඕන, current assets යටතේද පෙන්වන්න ඕන කියන තැනට අපි එන්නේ මොකක් බේස් කරන්ද? Which standard guides us on this? Current non-current classification. We have discussed already. What? That is LKS 1, right? LKS 1 වලින් තමයි අපි guide කරන්නේ මෙන්න මේ characteristics තිබ්බොත් එක current, එහෙම නැත්නම් එක non-current, right? Then under current assets we have inventories, right? We have inventories, we have trade receivables, we have cash and cash equivalents, we have bank amounts, those stuff we have. Inventories addressed in which standard? Inventories ගැන කතා කරන්නේ මොන standard එකේදද? These things you know. In which standard? LKAS 2, right? LKAS 2 is about inventories. Then if I take few under here non-current assets, we have PPE, property, plant and equipment, right? Property, plant and equipment. Property, plant and equipments are addressed in which standard? LKAS here 16, right? LKAS 16. And last week we have discussed what? Intangible assets, right? We have discussed on intangible assets. Intangible asset is also coming under non-current assets, and this is discussed in LKS 38. So these investment property standard which we are going to discuss today is also coming under non-current assets, right? Investment property. So investment property is addressed in LKS 40. So this is why I told what? These all are which kind of a standard? Asset related standards, right? So investment property appears separately. We should separately identify investment property from other kinds of assets. To do that, right, LKS 40 provides us the guidance. So investment property අපි අනිත් asset වලින් වෙන් කරලා අඳුනගෙන record කරන්න ඕන. ඒකට LKS 40 අපිට guide කරනවා. කොහොමද recognize කරන්නේ, කොහොමද අඳුනගන්නේ, මොකක්ද accounting treatments, right? ඔය දේවල් ගැන. Okay, so look at this definition, right? So look at this definition, what it says. Definition එකේ මොකක්ද කියන්නේ? Right? Investment property is property within brackets land or a building or a part of a building or both. Land එකක්, එහෙම නැත්නම් building එකක්, එහෙම නැත්නම් building එකේ එක කොටසක්, එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ දෙකම together, right? Land and a building. Held, right, by the owner or by the lessee under a finance lease, right? ඒකේ pure ownership එක අපිට තියෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, නැත්නම් finance lease එකක් යටතේ අපි අරන් තියනවා වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, right? Both are considered to be held. To earn rentals or for capital appreciation or both, rather than for either of the following, right? A, it says use in production or supply of goods or services or for administrative purposes. B, sale in the ordinary course of business. Right? So I need your focus on these terms. When we define in investment property, it can be a land, or it can be a building, or it can be a part of a building, or it can be both. Right? So here under investment properties, we deal with only these two types of assets, land and buildings. You know, right? Machines, office equipments, right? Inventories, those are, we are not going to consider under investment property, right? What we are considering here only, what? Lands and buildings. එතකොට lands and buildings කියද්දි, right? තනිකරම land එකක් වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, තනිකරම building එකක් වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, නැත්නම් building එකේ එක කොටසක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. තට්ටු තුනක building එකක් නම් යට තට්ටුව investment property එකක් විතර අපිට ගණන් ගණන්න වෙන අවස්ථා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Or both. Right? Land එකයි building එකයි දෙකම, right? එකට වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, right? So lands and buildings. Right? Why we are holding this land? Why we are keeping these lands and buildings? Either to earn rentals or for capital appreciation or for both. අපි මොකක් හරි land එකක් හරි building එකක් හරි තියන් ඉන්නව නම් ඒකෙන් rental income එකක් ගන්න. Right? අපි building එකක් තියන් ඉන්නවා, ඒක අපි rental income එකක් ගන්න තමයි මේ building එක තියන් ඉන්නේ. Right? Building එක rent එකට දීලා. Then such buildings come in under investment property. එතකොට building කියලා අපි usually what we do in order with respect to lands and buildings. With respect to land and building in normal conditions, right, in normal circumstances, we identify it under property, plant and equipment, isn't it? අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් land, building කියන ඒවා අඳුනගන්නේ PPE යටතේ. Property, plant and equipment යටතේ. හැබැයි මේ ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එකේ කියනවා මොකද්ද? අපි land එකක් හරි building එකක් හරි තියන් ඉන්නව නම් rental purpose එකට. Right? අපි rent එකට දීලා ආදායමක් උපයන් ඉන්න අපි land එකක් හරි building එකක් හරි තියාගෙන ඉන්නව නම්, right? To earn rentals or for capital appreciation, especially with respect to land. අපි ඉඩමක් අරන් දාලා තියෙනවා, අපි ඒක පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ අපේ intention එක, right? That is the most important term here, intention. අපේ intention එක බලන්න ඕන, right? Our intention is capital appreciation, right? ඉඩමක් අරන් දාලා තියෙනවා, ගාන පොඩ්ඩක් වැඩි වුණාට පස්සේ විකුණලා, right, profit එක ගන්න, right? In practice this is happening, right? Land එකක් අපි අරන් දාලා තියෙනවා, අපි production වලට මුකුත් පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ නැහැ, අපි admin පැත්තට මුකුත් පාවිච්චි කරන්නේත් නැහැ, right? Our intention is to sell when the price goes up. Right? Price එක වැටුණාට පස්සේ ඒක විකුණලා අපිට profit එකක් ගන්න තමයි intention එක. So such we need to identify it under investment property. Right? So simply it is what? Land or building which we are keeping either to earn rentals or to capital appreciation or for both. Rental income එකක් ගන්න හරි නැත්නම් capital appreciation purpose එකට හරි නැත්නම් ඔය දෙකටම හරි අපි land එකක් හරි building එකක් හරි තියාගෙන ඉන්නව නම් ඒව අපි අඳුර ගන්නවා මොකක් කියලාද? Investment property. Right? So if I ask a question like this, right? If a company has a machine which they are keeping to earn rental incomes, වෙන්න පුළුවන් company එක මොකක් හරි machine එකක් තියෙනවා ඒ machine එක යාලා rent එකට දෙනවා. Is it coming under investment property? Right? The company machine, right? They are keeping that machine to earn rental incomes. Is that coming under investment property? Rent එකට දෙන්න තියාගෙන ඉන්න machine එකක්. Right? ඒක investment property ද? Is it coming under investment property? Right? It is not coming under investment property, yes. Right? So here our focus is, right, the main term we need to deal with here is intention. What is our intention? Intention intentions, right? These are the two intentions we need to consider. Whether we are keeping that asset to earn rentals or for capital appreciation. Right? Then especially we are considering two types of assets here, that is land and buildings. Right? Okay, but here it says rather than for either of the following, they especially exclude these 2 points. See, what are those 2 points? First one, used in the production or supply of goods or services. අපි land එකක් හරි building එකක් හරි තියාගෙන ඉන්නව නම් to use in the production or supply of goods or services. Right? අපි building එකක් තියෙනවා ඒ building එක තමයි අපේ production house එක. ඒකේ තමයි අපේ productions යන්නේ. එතකොට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? That we cannot identify it under investment property. Right? If we are having a building where we do our productions, right? That should not consider under investment property. Right? They especially exclude. එහෙනම් එයා investment property වලට නෙවෙයි නම් ඉන්නේ වෙන කොහාටද අපිට consider කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? අපේ production කරන, right? නැත්නම් manufacturing වෙන තැන, right? That building should come under what? In this standard, it especially exclude. We cannot identify such buildings under investment properties. Therefore, that should go to where? That appears where? Under property, plant and equipment. මතකයි නේද? PPE define කරද්දී අපි define කරා 3 purposes. Purpose තුනක් තිබ්බ. මොකක්ද? එකක් used in production or supply of goods or services. The other one is what? Right? If we are using it for our administrative purpose or for rental. එතකොට එතන rental කියද්දී මොකක් වෙනවද? Right? එතකොට machine එකක් මම කිව්වේ machine එකක් rent purpose තියන් ඉන්නව නම් rental income එකක් ගන්න තියන් ඉන්නව නම් machines does not comes under investment property. Then it should comes under what? It is coming under PPE. Okay? That is why when learning this accounting standard, these definitions are very important. Right? So if we are using in the production or supply of goods or services or for administrative purposes, it means what? It appears or it should goes under, it should, those assets should be identified under what? මේ කතා කරන්නේ කවුරු ගැනද? LKAS 60, right? Property, plant and equipment. Right? LKAS 60, property, plant and equipment. Point B, sale in the ordinary course of business. Sale in the ordinary course of business. Right? land sale කරන company එකක් නම් මොකද්ද? එයාලා land තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ right? rental income ගන්නවත් capital appreciation purpose එකටවත් නෙමෙයි. මොකද්ද? එයාලගේ ඒක තමයි එයාලගේ business එක. Right? That is their ordinary course of business. So the assets coming under this we identified as what? Not investment properties, but what? These are coming under LKAS 2. LKAS 2 stands for what? Inventories. Right? So simply investment properties are lands and buildings which we are keeping to earn rentals for capital appreciation. Right? Okay. Right. Owner occupied property. Right? Owner occupied properties are not investment property. If we classify or if we identify the particular asset or a particular property as an owner occupied property, that should not be an investment property. අපි මොකක් හරි property එකක් owner occupied property කියලා අඳුනගත්තොතින් ඒක investment property එකක් වෙන්න බෑ. Right? So what are owner occupied property then? මොකනවද මේ owner occupied property කියලා කියන්නේ? Is property held by the owner, right? Or by the lessee under a finance lease. බීම ඕන වෙන්නත් පුළුවන් නැත්නම් අපි finance lease එකට අරන් තියෙන asset එකක් property එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. For use in the production or supply of goods or services or for administrative purposes. අපි ගාව මොකක් හරි asset එකක් තියෙනවා නම් අපි ඒ asset එක පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ භාණ්ඩ හා සේවා නිෂ්පාදනය හා සැපයීම කියන කාරණයට නම් එහෙමත් නැත්නම් අපි ඒක පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ administrative purpose වලට නම් then such properties or such assets we should identify as owner occupied property. Right? Simply what? These assets are coming under property, plant and equipment. Right? Property, plant and equipment ඇතුලේ තමයි මොනවද තියෙන්නේද? Owner occupied properties තියෙන්නේ. Right? අපි මොකක් හරි asset එකක් production or supply of goods or services purpose එකට හරි නැත්නම් administrative purpose එකට හරි තියාගෙන ඉන්නව නම් those are owner occupied property. Right? Hence owner occupied property cannot be investment properties. Right? So what is the impact? Right? What is the impact? Land and building, right? In normal circumstances land and building are coming under PPE. But here this standard guide us, right? No, if our intention is this, we should not identify these assets under PPE. We should identify these under investment property. Then what will happen? What is the difference? Then, right? We have PPE. Right? We have PPE. අපිට ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එකේ ගයිඩ් කරන ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් ප්‍රොපර්ටිස් වෙනම අඳුන ගන්න. right? වෙනම ලයින් අයිටම් එකක් විදිහට අඳුන ගන්න. හරි. දැන් හිතන්න බිල්ඩින් එකක් right? rental purpose තියන් ඉන්න බිල්ඩින් එකක්. It should comes under investment property. Right? If our intention is not to earn rentals or not for any capital appreciation purpose, we will take it under property, plant and equipment. How this decision affects to our right profit? Make building එක PPE වලට consider කරනවද? Should we consider a building under property, plant and equipment or under investment property? How should this decision affects? How this decision will be affected to our profit and loss? Or how can accountants or the preparers of these financial statements can play with these standards? කොහොමද යාලට manipulate කරන්න chance එකක් එන්නේ? අපේ profit එක අඩුයි මේ අවුරුද්දේ. profit එක වැඩි කරගන්න ඕන. right? මන්ට ඒක මෙන්න මේ standards පාවිච්චි කරලා මේ standard දෙකේ knowledge එක පාවිච්චි කරලා manipulate කරන්න පුළුවන් කොහොමද? right? You should not do any manipulations. But if someone intend to do so, right, as auditors, you need to, right, catch those things. Audit karanne yaddi, therefore you should have thorough understanding on these things. Right? Samaharu PPE එන එකක් investment property දාන්නත් පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් investment property එන එකක් PPE දාන්නත් පුළුවන්. Right? අපි දැනට මෙහෙම හිතමු. It actually should comes under investment property. Building එකක් තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා rental income එකක් ගන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වේ. හැබැයි එයාලා ඒක investment property දාන්න නැතුව PPE වලට දාලා අතුන ගන්නවා. Right? What will happen? What is the main difference? Building එකක් මෙතන අතුන ගන්න එකේ මෙතන අතුන ගන්න එකේ main difference එක මොකක්ද? Classification වෙනස විතර දෙන්න උතනේ. What? With respect to PPE, what we do? With respect to PPE, what we do usually? We do depreciation. අපි මොකක් හරි asset එකක් property, plant and equipment කියලා හඳුනාගත්තොත් අපි මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕන? අපි ওই asset එක, right, depreciate කරන්න ඕන. But if we classify an asset under investment property, we should not depreciate. Right? Accounting wise, that is the main difference. If we classify a particular asset under property, plant and equipment, we need to depreciate. If we classify an asset under investment property, we should not depreciate. That is the difference. So how can we use this to manipulate our profit figures? Profit figures manipulate කරන්න නම් මොකක්ද අපි කරන්න පුළුවන්? වෙන්න පුළුවන් දේවල් මොනවද? Right? What? Right? PP in a building එකක්, right? පිකා building එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ building එකේ අපේ intention එක තමයි, right? Our intention is to earn rentals. Earn a rental income. අපි යෝක investment property තමයි එන්න ඕන. Investment property දාන්න නැතුව අපි යෝක PP ආස්සේ දාගෙන තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා. Right? එතකොට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? ඔය ගොඩක් වෙලාවට වෙන්නේ අනිත් පැත්ත. මොකද්ද? PP, right? PPE විදියට අඳුර ගන්න ඒවා investment property විදියට අඳුර ගන්නවා. Right? හිතන්න, right? We have a, right? We have a land. Right? We have a land. And our intention is that to use that land, right? අපි මොකක් හරි අපේ plant එකක් establish කරන්න තමයි ওই land එක අරගෙන තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ. Right? Our intention is to establish a plant on that land. මොකක් හරි, right? Plant එකක් ඕක establish කරන්න තමයි අපි ওই land එක අරගෙන තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ. Right? So our intention is not either to earn rentals or for capital appreciation. එතකොට rental income එකක් ගන්නවත් intention එකක් නැහැ. Capital appreciation කියන intention එකක් නැහැ. එතකොට ඔය intention දෙක නැත්තම් මට ඔක මොකක් විදිහට අඳුන ගන්න බැරිද? Investment property එකක් විදිහට අඳුන ගන්න බෑ. Right? So that we are keeping that land, right, for administrative purpose. Or it may be for production or supply or production purpose. Then production purpose එකට කියලා. Production purpose එකට තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ. එහෙනම් අපිට ඕක investment property එකක් විදිහට අඳුන ගන්න බෑ. Right? Therefore that land should comes under where? Comes under what? Property, plant and equipment. Production purpose එකට නම් ওই land එක තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ. ඒක අපි ගණන් ගන්න ඕන PPE එක යටතේ. It should comes under PPE. So if we need to increase our profits, what we can do? අපි ඔය land එක PPE අඳුන ගන්න නැතුව investment property වලට දාලා අඳුන ගත්තොත් මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? Again, we cannot take lands. Why? Land we do not depreciate. Why? Because of the unlimited, undefined, indefinite useful life. Right? Again, I will take the building. Then building එක කියලා. Building එකක් එන්න ඕන PPE. හැබැයි අපි ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් ප්‍රොපර්ටි වලට දාගෙන තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා. එතකොට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? බිල්ඩින් එකක් හරි විදියට ක්ලැසිෆයි කරතින් එන්න ඕන ප්‍රොපර්ටි ප්ලාන්ට් ඇන්ඩ් ඉක්විප්මන්ට් වලට. හැබැයි අපි ඕක ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් ප්‍රොපර්ටි අස්සට දාගත්තොත් මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් ප්‍රොපර්ටි වලට දාගත්තොත් අපි මොකක් කරන්න ඕනේ නැද්ද? ඩිප්‍රිෂিয়েට් කරන්න ඕනේ නෑ. ඩිප්‍රිෂিয়েට් කරන්න ඕනේ නෑ කියලා කියන්නේ ඩිප්‍රිසියේෂන් එක්ස්පෙන්ස් එකක් අපි අඳුනගන්නේ නෑ. එතකොට අපේ එක්ස්පෙන්සස් මොකක් වෙනවද? අඳුන ගන්න ඕන amount එකට වඩා අපි එක්ස්පෙන්සස් අඩුවෙන් තමයි අඳුනගන්නේ. එක්ස්පෙන්සස් අඩුවෙන් අඳුනගත්තොත් මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? Our profit figure will goes up, right? Therefore, when auditing, you need to be extra careful when you are auditing this one, investment property. Right? Investment properties eneva PP අස්සේ තියෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. PP අස්සේ eneva, right? Investment property වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. Right? Therefore, when you are doing auditing, you need to be extra careful. Right? So here we have an example. See, right? So we need to say whether it is applicable for the investment property definition, right? See the first one. What is that? Land held for long-term capital appreciation rather than for short-term sale in the ordinary course of business. Right? Can we identify it as investment property? Is it meet the definition? Investment property definition එක meet කරනවද? Hence, can we identify this one as an investment property? Yes or no? Land, right? Land held for long-term capital appreciation rather than for short-term sale in the ordinary course of business. Land held for long-term capital appreciation. Is it coming under investment property or not? Is it coming under investment property? Land held for long-term capital appreciation rather than for short-term sale in the ordinary course of business. Right? Okay. What about others? What? Land we are keeping for capital appreciation should come under what? It is coming under investment property. Right? අපි assets වලින් අපි consider කරන්නේ මොනවා විතරද? Lands තුයි buildings තුයි විතරයි. Intention එක පැත්තෙන් අපි ගාව තියෙන පුළුවන් intention දෙකයි. මොකක්ද? Either to earn rental incomes or for capital appreciation. Right? Here we have a land and we are keeping that for capital appreciation. Therefore, that we need to identify under investment property. Point number 2. What can you say? Land held for currently undetermined use. We have a land held for currently undetermined use. Again, land එකක් තියෙනවා අපි හරියටම තීරණය කරලා නැහැ අපි මොකක්ද මේ land එකෙන් කරන්න යන්නේ කියලා. Undetermined. තාම තීරණය කරලා නැහැ. Can happen. So is it coming under investment property or not? Ahmad say it's coming under PPE. What about others? Right? You can unmute and talk. The ones from Tango. What can you say? Land held for a currently undetermined use. Land එකක් තියෙනවා. Like we have not determined for what purpose we are going to use this land. Exactly, we have no idea yet. Then what? Right? Here, undetermined use. Right? If we are keeping a land and if we have not determined for what purpose that we are going to use this land, then it is assumed that land is keeping for capital appreciation purpose. Right? අපිට ගාව ලෑන්ඩ් එකක් තියෙනවා නම් අපි තාම නිශ්චිතව හරියටම තීරණය කළ නැත්නම් අපි මෙන්න මේ ඇසෙට් එක පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ මෙන්න මේ purpose එකට කියලා, then it means, right, we have to assume that we are keeping that land for the capital appreciation purpose. Therefore, the standard guide us to identify such lands under investment property. Right? Standard එක especially කියනවා land එකක් undetermined, right, land එකක් තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා නම් with undetermined use, right, then we need to assume that particular land we are keeping with the purpose of capital appreciation. We need to assume as such, and therefore that should be recognized under investment property. Right. Point number 3. A building owned by the reporting entity, right, or held by the entity under a finance lease, okay, and leased out under an operating lease. Building owned by the reporting entity and leased out under an operating lease. Investment property or not? Right? You need to think, otherwise you will not get these points. Right? You need to argue with yourself. Can we take this under the investment property definition or not? A building owned by the reporting entity and leased out under an operating lease. Building එකක්, හරි, අර කියපු property එකකින් එකක්, then the purpose. Is it coming under investment property or not? Right? I'm getting the answer calling no. Others? Right? Is it no? Can't we identify this as an investment property? What is our intention here? Right? Building, no issue. Right? That is a property that we are considering, right, with the definition of investment property. Leased out, keyword passe, leased out under an operating lease. What is our intention? What is our purpose? Lease out කරා මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? අපි මොකද්ද? Right? Lease out කරලා අපි මොකද්ද? අපි intention එක කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? ඒකෙන් rental income එකක් ගන්නනේ. Right? Lease rentals, we say, right? To earn lease rentals, a rental income. Therefore, building which we are keeping to earn lease rentals, right, for earning rental income should comes under investment property. This meets the definition. Building keeps for earning rentals, right? Lease rental කියලා කියන්නේ rental income එකක්, right? Lease අපි lease out කරාට පස්සෙත් අපිට එන්නේ මොකක්ද? Lease rental income එකක්. So that should comes under investment property. That meets the definition of investment property. Right. Fourth one, a building that is vacant but is held to be leased out under one or more operating leases. Again, it is about a building, right? Land and building විතරයි අපි consider කරන්නේ, right, when we are classifying investment properties. So therefore, here it is a building that is vacant but is held to be leased out under one or more operating leases. Now tell me, building එකක් තියෙනවලු තාම ඒක vacant, right? තාම ඒක මොකුත් පාවිච්චි කරගෙන නැහැ. But is held to be leased out. හැබැයි තියෙන්නේ නම් මොකද්ද purpose එක? Lease out කරන්න. Right? So is it meeting the definition? Can we identify this building under investment property? Building which is currently vacant but is held to be leased out under one or more operating lease. I'm getting an answer called yes. What about others? Right. මෙතන මේ vacant කතන්දරේ තිබ්බ නැත්නම් it is straightforward like the previous one. Building to earn lease rentals. Building to earn rental incomes, yes, investment property. But here what is the issue? Vacant. Here, right, whether it is vacant or not, we should focus on what? The intention. What is the intention? Right? Yes, it is also coming under investment property. අපි යෝක vacant උනත් නැත්නම් අපි යෝක පාවිච්චි කරත් අපේ intention එක, right, either to earn rentals or for capital appreciation, then it should come under investment property, right? Although it is vacant, if we are keeping it to earn rentals, that building should come under investment property, right? Point number 5. Property that is being constructed or developed for future use as investment property. What can you say? Right? Property that is being constructed or developed, right? If it is constructed or developed, what it should be? Construct karnawa na, it should be a building. Develop karnawa na, it can be either building or a land for future use as investment property, right? Land or a building which we are keeping to earn rentals or for capital appreciation, right? Meets the definition. It should come under investment property. See the point number 6. Property that is complete or under construction and intended for sale in the ordinary course of business. Right? Property that is complete or under construction. Under construction, most probably it would be a building, right? And intended for sale in the ordinary course of business. සාමාන්‍ය ව්‍යාපාරික ක්‍රියාවලියේදී විකුණන්න බලාගෙන තියෙන building එකක්. නම් මේ company එකක් වෙන්නේ නැද්ද? මේක construction company එකක් වෙන්න ඇති. construction company එකේ business එක මොකද්ද? buildings හදලා විකුණන එක. එතකොට ඒ වගේ building එකක් can we consider under investment property? No, right? Sale in the ordinary course of business, that should not come under investment. Sorry, that should not come under investment property, right? Sale in the ordinary course of business now, right? That does not meet the definition. Right? If you can remember, our definition especially exclude these situations. අපි production no administrative purpose නම් තියාගෙන එහෙම නැත්නම් sale in the ordinary course of business නම් ඒවා අපි especially මොකක් කරනවද? As per the definition we need to specially exclude. Right. Point number 7. Property under construction on behalf of third parties. Right? Property under construction on behalf of third parties. අපි property එකක් හදනවා හැබැයි අපිට නෙවෙයි, right? Instructions ඔක්කොම දෙන්නේ third party එකක්. එයාලට ඕන විදිහට තමයි අපි building එක හදන්නේ. Then what? property under construction on behalf of third parties. Right? Right? So we do not own this building. Right? Whatever the property we are constructing, that is not owned by us. We construct that building for a third party as per their wish. Right? The ownership will be this third party. Therefore, that should not come under investment property. That does not meet our definition. Right? In our definition, it says what? The ownership should be with us. So here, what happens? The ownership is with the third party. Therefore, it does not meet our definition of investment property. Right. The last one. Owner occupied property, property held under development for future owner occupation and owner occupied property awaiting disposal. By seeing at the first three words, you can give the answer here. Owner occupied property. What do we mean by owner occupied property? Property which we are keeping for what purposes? Either for production or supply of goods or services or for administrative purposes. If we are keeping an asset for production or supply of goods or services or for administrative purposes, those should not come under investment property. These are coming under what? Property, plant and equipment, right? So these are the answers for example number 1. Clear? That is how we determine based on the definition whether a particular asset, right, below comes under investment property or not. Right? So when you are right into practice, right, you will come across these situations or what are වෙනස් වෙච්ච situations එන්න පුළුවන්. Then based on the definition you need to decide whether we take it under a PPE or whether we take it under investment property or any other particular asset. Right? So understanding this definition is very important. Right? So definition of පාඩම් exam එකකට විතරක් නෙවෙයි. Right? When we are working also, we need to have a thorough understanding on these definitions. Right. Example number 2. Right. Colombo Developments Limited owns a block of apartments on the outskirts of Colombo. These are let to skilled employees of the company who live overseas, but are required to be based in Colombo during the week due to work commitments. A below market rate of rent is charged to the employees. So what is required? Explain how the property is classified in the financial statements of Colombo Developments Limited. Right? Colombo Development Limited owns, so they have the ownership, a block of apartment, right? A block of apartments on the outskirts of Colombo. They are let to skilled employees of the company who lives overseas but are required to be based in Colombo during the week to work commitments. A below market rate, right? Samanya market rate එකට වඩා අඩුවෙන් තමයි මෙයාලගේ rent එක charge කරන්නේ. So these are the keywords. So based on this information, tell me whether this block of apartments, right? How should we recognize? Where should we recognize? Where should we identify this block of apartments? Right? Financial statements වල කොතනද මෙයා appear වෙන්නේ? Should it come under property, plant and equipment, or can we consider it under investment property? Colombo Development Limited කියන ওই company එකට එයාලට apartment එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ apartment එක එයාලා මොකක් කළාද මේ? එයාලගේම employees ලට right රෙන්ට් කරලා right රෙන්ට් එකට දීලා එයාලගේම එම්ප්ලොයිස්ලට එහෙම රෙන්ට් එකට දෙද්දි මොකද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ right මාකට් රේට් එකට වඩා අඩු රේට් එකක් තමයි එයාලගේ එම්ප්ලොයිස්ලගෙන් එයාලා charge කරලා තියෙන්නේ so this apartment can this company identified under investment property or whether they should identify this block of apartments under property plant and equipment right how it should be right investment property කියලා ආන්සරයක් එනවා what about others right investment property lu others apartment එකක් තියෙනවා අපේම employees ලට අපි rent එකට දීලා market rate එකට වඩා අඩු rate එකකින් income එකක් ගන්නවා what I'm waiting for your answers investment property okay others investment property okay so this particular block of apartment right this particular asset or property should comes under PPE right PPE not under investment property why it should comes under investment property but should not under investment property right when determining whether a particular asset belongs to investment property or not what is the key term I highlighted intention right what is the intention මෙයාලා මේ apartment එක තියාගෙන ඉන්නෙම rental income එකක් ගන්නද නැත්නම් මෙයාලගේ right administrative purpose එකටද right එයාලා right එයාලා lease out කරලා income එකක් ගන්නව තමයි එයාලගෙන් charge එකක් ගන්නව තමයි right ඒක below market rate වුණත් market rate වුණත් right what we need to decide is what is their intention their intention is not to earn rental incomes but for what for administrative purposes overseas වැඩ කරන අය මෙයාලට right හැමදාම weekend එකේ ගෙදර කියලා එන්න කියන්න බෑ ඒකයි මෙයාලා අපි කොළඹවට නවත්ත ගන්න මේ apartment එක යාලට දෙන්නේ for our administrative purposes right administrative purpose එක තමයි අපි intention එක not to earn rental incomes although we charge them අපි යාලගෙන් charge කරත් අපේ intention එක තියෙන වෙන තැනක right our intention is to earn right not to earn rental incomes but for what for our right easy operation of our administrative work therefore this should comes under what property plant and equipment right yes not under investment property right clearly we need to see the what is the intention මොකක්ද intention එක so when you are auditing when you are going for auditing how can you track this intention එක කියලා කියන අපිට පේන දෙයක් නෙවෙයිනේ කොහොමද මේ intention එක track කරන්නේ පට ගියාට පස්සේ ඔයාලට පේන්නේ apartment එකක් තියෙනවා මේකේ employees ලා නැමතිලා ඉන්නවා එයාලගෙන් ගාණක් charge කරනවා කියන factors ටික විතරයි ඔයාලට පේන්නේ right එතකොට how you decide as auditors whether it is an investment property or not කොහොමද intention එක බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් ඔයාලට as auditors right කොහෙද intention එක බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් that is why you are reading what board minutes right board minutes කියවනව නේද කියවන්න ඕන නේද right board minutes කියවද්දී ඔය වගේ points තමයි අපි අල්ල ගන්න බලන්නේ right intention නම් මෙන්න මේ apartment එකක් අපි හැදුවා මෙන්න මේ purpose එකට තමයි අපි හදන්නේ. ඒ purpose එක තමයි අපි මොකද්ද? intention එක. අපි මේක හදන්නේ rental income එකක් ගන්න නෙවෙයි. මෙයාලට right මෙතට යන්නෙන් අමාරු යාළුවෝ facilitate කරන්න. අපි administration work අපි තව right smoothly යන්න පුළුවන් විදියට හදාගන්න. Right? Intention. Hope it is clear. Right? Example number 2. Right. Recognition and measurement. So this is an asset related standard. Therefore, as right with respect to most of the asset related standard, these criteria are same. When we are discussing about PPE, when we are discussing about intangible assets, right, we came across the same recognition criteria, right? So the two recognition criteria similar in here as well. What? Probable future economic benefits, right, that are associated with the investment property will flow to the entity and the cost can be measured reliably. So these are the two recognition criteria. When it comes to measurement, right, an investment property is initially recognized at cost, IPPE. එතකොට මෙතන cost කියද්දි මොනවද තියෙන්න පුළුවන්? මෙතන cost කියද්දි මොකක්ද තියෙන්න පුළුවන්? With the knowledge of PPE, you should be able to answer. Initially recognized at cost. When we say cost, it consists what? Purchase price plus what? Directly attributable cost. Right? Directly attributable cost. Some examples. Directly attributable cost වලට examples කියන්න බලන්න. මොනවද? Professional fees, right? Transaction cost, especially with investment properties, those directly attributable cost can be there, right? Professional fees and transaction cost. So that those costs also we should consider under, right, when calculating the cost of the investment property initially. And subsequently, an entity may make an accounting policy choice and adopt either fair value model or cost model, right? Similar to other asset related standards, right? Right. See this example number 3. Moonlight Limited acquired a property on 1st of October 2020, which it intends to renovate prior to renting out to commercial tenants. The property cost 6.5 million rupees, including 165,000 of legal fees and 10,000 of bank transfer charges. Further, it says Moonlight intends to spend 2 million on renovation before the property can be rented out. The renovation should take 3 months. If they extend beyond this time, the cost in lost income to Moonlight will be 16,000 per month. When the property is rented out, Moonlight expects to pay 2,000 per month in maintenance cost. State at what cost the property is initially measured. Explain how this cost might subsequently change. There are a lot of cost figures they have given, right? So one by one, we need to decide what we should do. Read again and get the understanding of this sum. Right. First tell me whether this property is an investment property or not. Right. They have acquired the property, means the ownership is with this company, Moonlight Limited, right, on this date, which it intends to renovate prior to renting out to commercial tenants. What is the intention? Intention එක මොකක්ද? Renting out. Therefore, can we identify this property under investment property? Yes, this is an investment property. Investment property, we should initially measure that what? At cost. Cost means what? Cost consists with what? Purchase price, right? Purchase price plus directly attributable cost. They have given the cost is 6.5 million rupees. This 6.5 million including 165,000 of legal fees. Is it okay? When determining the cost, can we include this 165,000? අපි initially measure කරන්නේ cost එකනේ. එතකොට cost කියන එක මම කිව්වේ මොකද්ද? It is what? Purchase price plus directly attributable cost. Now they say the cost is 6.5 million. This includes this 165,000 legal fees. Can it be? Can we consider legal fees under the cost? Can or can't? Right? So you can unmute. Huh? Is it okay? මේ 1,65,000 මේක ඇතුලේ තියෙන එක ඕකේද කියලා අහන්නේ. Legal fees මේ cost එක ඇතුලේ තියෙන එක ඕකේද? Is it okay?
No.
Right? Legal fees. Legal fee is what? Is a kind of professional charge, professional fee, right? Professional fee is what? Professional fee is a directly attributable cost. Therefore, it is okay to include this 165,000 into our cost, right? Me 165,000 කියලා කියන්නේ කියන legal fee එක අපේ directly attributable cost එකක්. Therefore, it is okay to consider it under our cost, right? And what about this 10,000 bank transfer charges? Is it okay? Can we consider it under cost? 10,000 bank transfer charges. But this is a transaction cost, right? Transaction cost එකක්, isn't it? Bank transfer charges කියලා කියන්නේ transaction cost එකක්. Transaction cost is also a kind of directly attributable cost. Therefore, we can consider this 10,000 under the cost of the asset, right? Now, legal fees, bank transfer charges, these are what? Directly attributable cost. Therefore, directly attributable cost we need to consider under cost, right? Then, this one. Moonlight intends to spend 2 million on renovations before the property can be rented out, right? Have these companies already spent this amount? Mean 2 million එක දැන්ටමත් එයාලා වියදම් කරලාද තියෙන්නේ? Have they already spent? No, right? They intends to spend. එයාලා වියදම් කරන්න හිතාගෙන ඉන්නවා. කියලා කියන්නේ මොකක් කරේ නැද්ද? වියදම් කරලා නැහැ. එහෙනම් අපි if it is not incurred, can we take it to our books of accounts? අපි තාම ඒක වියදම දරලා නැත්නම් අපිට ඒක පොත්වලට අරන් එන්න පුළුවන්ද? Right? අපිට intent කරා කියලා, right? So we do not have any kind of liability, right? It is only an intention. Right? We need to, right, spend, we may have to spend this much of amount for innovation. That is, we have not still incurred. If it is not incurred yet, we cannot take it to our books of account. Then I made 2 million අපිට පොත්වලට අරන් එන්න බෑ. Right? Why? Because we have not yet incurred this amount. තාම මේ amount එක incur කරපු නැති නිසා. Right. Then the renovation should take 3 months. If they extend beyond this time, the cost in lost income to Moonlight will be 16,000. Right? ඔය renovation වැඩේට මාස 3ක් විතර යයිලු. මාස 3 පැන්නොතින් මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? Right? මාසෙට රුපියල් 16,000 ගානේ cost in lost income. Right? Future operating losses. Right? In other terms, future operating losses we should not recognize. Future operating losses අපි පොත්වලට අරගෙන එන්නේ නැහැ. It is especially restricted in the standard. We should not identify any future operating losses. Right? So this 16,000 we should not identify in our books of account. When the property is rented out, Moonlight expects to pay 2,000 per month in maintenance cost. Right? Expects to pay. තාම ගෙවල නෑ, ගෙවන්න අදහස් කරගෙන ඉන්නවා. මාසෙට 2,000 ගානේ for what purpose? For maintenance. Right? Expects to pay means they have not yet incurred this amount again. If they have not yet incurred, they cannot identify though they cannot recognize this amount in their books. Right? තාම incur වෙලා නැහැ. තාම අපි මේ වියදම දරන්න පටන් අරගෙන නැහැ. Right? So we cannot take it into our accounts. Right? The accounts වලට මේ 2,000 අරගෙන එන්න බෑ තාම. හැබැයි once they have completed all this stuff and once they incurred, where we should identify this 2,000. දැන් හිතන්න building එක හදලා renovation කරලා ඔක්කොම ඉවරයි. Right? Now we have already incurred to pay 2,000 per month as per maintenance, right? As maintenance cost. So where we should identify this maintenance cost? Yeah, we should charge it into our P&L. Right? We should charge it to our P&L. But yet, right, we have not incurred. Therefore, for the moment, we should do nothing on this 2,000. Yeah. Right? So those should be our accounting treatment with respect to these figures. Right? So the cost should be what? Cost should be what? 6.5 million. This is the initial cost that we need to identify with respect to this investment property. Right. So today we have many examples. Right. Example number 4. Try this one. Moratuwa Properties Limited acquired a retail park on 1st August 2019, right? At a cost of 9 million. On this date, at a cost of this much, they have acquired a retail park. The company incurred transaction cost of 500,000 on the purchase. Right? Transaction cost of 500,000 incur vela. At 31st December 2019, the property was determined by an external valuer to have a fair value of 10.2 million rupees. Right? At the year end, they have determined the fair value. During 2020, the following year, there was a market-wide fall in property prices. Right? During 2020, there was a market-wide fall in property prices, and the fair value of the retail park at 31st December 2020 was 9.9 million rupees. Moratuwa Properties Limited applies the LKAS 40 fair value model. Right. So what is required? We need to prepare relevant extracts from the financial statements of Moratoa Properties Limited for the years ended 31st December 2019 and 2020. Right. We need to prepare the financial statement extracts. PNL එකේ 2019 අවුරුද්දේ මොනවද අපි වෙන්නේ? 2020 අවුරුද්දේ right PNL balance sheet figures right කොහොමද වෙන්නේ with respect to these given information. Right here, Moratoa Properties Limited acquired a retail park on 1st of August 2019 at the cost of 9 million. Cost 9 million right, on 1st of August 2019. Right. The company incurred transaction cost of 500,000 on the purchase. Right. Further transaction cost of 500,000. Right. Then at 31st December 2019, the property was determined by an external valuer to have a fair value of 10.2 million rupees. Right. On 31st December 2019, the fair value was assessed at 10.2 million rupees. Then during 2020, there was a market-wide fall in property prices, and the fair value of the retail park at 31st December 2020 was 9.9 million rupees. At 31st December 2020, the fair value amount was 9.9 million rupees. Right. Okay. So how the extracts of financial statements should be. Right. Here in LKAS 40 investment property, right, when it comes to subsequent measurement, we have two options. What? Either we can use cost model or we can go for fair value model. Cost model yatti, what happens, right? So we do not have any depreciation amounts, right? Investment property or api depreciate karanne, therefore almost it is the same amount. We are continuing, right? Almost the same amount we are continuing. But once we adapted the fair value model, right? Once we adapted the fair value model, what happens? The fair value amount getting changed year by year. At each reporting it, we need to assess what is the fair value. Then accordingly, right? The fair value may differ from year to year. This difference, what we need to do? This difference we need to charge to P&L. Whether it is a profit or whether it is a loss, we need to take it to profit or loss. This is another point where it differs from other asset related standards, right? If you can, right, recall on PPE, right, there we had that revaluation reserve. අපි fair value model එකට ගියා නම් PPE වල මොකක්ද උනේ? fair value එක මේ අවුරුද්දට කලින් අවුරුද්දට සාපේක්ෂව මේ අවුරුද්දේ වැඩි වුණා නම් ඒ වැඩි වෙච්ච amount එක අපි කොහාට තරන් ගියේ? Revaluation reserve account එකට අරන් ගියා. Right? Even in intangible assets, we have done the same. But here in investment properties, right, we do not take the increase in fair value amount to an revaluation reserve account. Whether it is an increase or whether it is an decrease, the amount should be reflected in profit or loss. Right? Now, investment properties වල fair value එක වැඩි වුණා කියලා revaluation reserve එකකට අපි අරන් යන්නේ නැහැ. අගේ වැඩි වෙලා නම් ඒක right වැඩි වුණත් අඩු වුණත් that should be reflected in our profit or loss when it comes to subsequent measurement, especially with reference to fair value model. Right, now see this one. We need to have, right, 2019 and 2020 extracts. Right. Statement of profit or loss, statement of financial position. Right. Okay. During 2019, right? Now tell me what is the cost of this investment property, right? What is the cost of this investment property? Purchase price is 9 million, and further we have incurred transaction cost of 500,000, right? Therefore, the cost of the investment property, is how much? 9,500. Purchase price plus directly attributable cost. Right. So, as at 31st December 2019, what is under non-current assets, right? Under non-current assets, what should be the investment property amount? 2019-12-31. Right? 2019-12-31. Investment property කියලා අපි කීයක් අඳුර ගන්නවද? As at 31st December 2019, the fair value was assessed at how much? 10.2 million. Therefore, we should reflect, right? We should reflect this much of amount as investment property as 31st December 2019. So what is the impact here? What is the amount we need to charge to P&L? Right? What is the gain or loss we have incurred here? 9.5 million තිබ්බ එක right? Fair value එක assess කරපු නිසා කීයකින් වැඩි වෙලාද? right? 9.5 million තිබ්බේ. fair value එක කීයකින් වැඩි වෙලාද? right? It has gone up by how much? 700,000 rupees, right? 700,000. Is it a gain or a loss? ඒක අපිට gain එකක්ද loss එකක්ද? right? Because of the remeasurement of investment property to fair value, whether we have incurred a gain or a loss in 2019, අගේ වැඩි වෙලා නම් මොකද්ද? asset එකේ අගේ වැඩි වෙලා. ඒක අපිට මොකක්ද? gain එකක්. කීයක gain එකක්ද? gain worth of 700, right? Gain worth of 700. So if we consider 2019, these are the financial statement extracts. In our balance sheet, there will be investment property worth of 10.2 million. In our P&L, there will be a gain due to remeasurement of fair value of the investment property worth of 700,000. Right. Likewise, in 2020, right? As at 31st December 2020, the fair value was reassessed at 9.9 million. Therefore, the balance sheet figure should be this 9.9 million, right? 9.9 million. What is the amount that should reflect in our P&L? 10.2 million ඉඳන් 9.9 million වෙනකන් අගේ මොකක් වෙලාද? අඩු වෙලා. කීයකින් අඩු වෙලාද? It has reduced by 300,000, right? 300,000. What we should do? අගේ අඩු වෙලා නම් ඒක අපිට මොකද්ද? That is a loss for us, right? 300,000. So these are the financial extract. So the key output here is what? When it comes to subsequent measurement of investment property under fair value model, right? The difference always we charge to P&L, right? Subsequent measurement වලට යද්දී fair value model එකේදී අපි හැමතිස්සෙම මොකද කරන්නේ? Change එක අපි හැමතිස්සෙම reflect කරන්නේ කොතනින්ද? P&L එකේ, right? In our profit or loss statement. So this is the answer for example number 4. These are the financial statement extracts for the two given years, 2019 and 2020. Right? So the last part, transfers and disposals. Right? Transfers and disposals. Transfers means what? වෙන තැනක තිබ්බ asset එකක් investment property එකක් විදිහට අඳුන ගන්න වෙන අවස්ථා එන්නත් පුළුවන්. investment property එකක් විදිහට තිබ්බ land එකක් හරි building එකක් හරි, right? අනිත් asset විදිහට අඳුන ගන්න වෙන අවස්ථා වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, right? To or from investment property. It can be transferred to investment property, or an asset can be transferred from. This transfer should happen only when there is a change in use, right? When there is a change in use only, we need to deal with transfers, right? නිකම් asset එක අපිට ඕන විදිහට transfer කරන්න බෑ. If there is a change in use only, then we can transfer either to investment property or from investment property, right? And on derecognition, right? So we need to derecognize investment property when we are disposing it or when we are permanently withdraw it from our use. Whatever the gain or loss arise from the derecognition, we should reflect in our profit or loss statement. අපි derecognize කරගනිත් මොකක් හරි gain එකක් or loss එකක් ආවොත් that should reflect in our profit or loss, right? So we'll discuss with this example, this part. So this is the last example for today. See this one. A business owns a building that it has been using as a head office, right? A business owns a building that it has been using as a head office. Is it an investment property or is it something coming under property, plant and equipment? මේ building එක PPE වලට එන building එකක්ද investment property වලට එන building එකක්ද? What? A business owns a building that it has been using as a head office. Head office එකක් විදියට පාවිච්චි කරන building එක. It means for what purpose? Administrative purposes. If we are using a building for administrative purpose, it should come under what? Property, plant and equipment. In order to reduce costs, on 30th June 2020, it moved its head office functions to one of its production centers and is now letting out its head office. මොකද කරා කියලා කියන්නේ? යාළුවගේ පිරිවැය අඩු කරගන්න මෙන්න මෙදා on 30th June 2020 what they have done, they have moved their head office functions to one of their production centers. යාළ head office එකේ functions ටික යාළ shift කරලා තියෙනවා කොහාටද? production center එකට. එතකොට දැන් head office එක මොකක්ද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ නැත්තේ? Now it may be vacant and is now letting out its head office. Then head office functions ඔක්කොම අතන්ට transfer කරපු නිසා then now they can, right, give their head office for rent. දැන් යාළුවගේ head office එක rent purpose එකට දෙන්න පුළුවන්. And they are doing so. Now they are letting it out. ඒක නම් මොකක්ද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? කලින් අපි administrative purpose වලට පාවිච්චි කරපු building එක දැන් පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ මොකටද? දැන් පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ rental income එකක් ගන්න. එහෙනම් කලින් PPE තිබ්බ building එක දැන් මොකක් වෙනවද? දැන් අපිට investment property එකක් විදියට අඳුන ගන්න වෙනවා. Right? Transfer. PPE එකක් විදියට තිබ්බ building එක investment property එකක් විදියට transfer එකක් වෙනවා. Right? There is a change in use. This transfer is because of what? Because of the change in use. Earlier we have used it for administrative purpose. Now we are using to earn rental income. Right? There is a change in use. Company policy is to use the fair value model for investment property. Right? අපි කතා කරන subsequent measurements වලට යද්දී they have two options. They can go for either cost model or fair value model. Right? Whatever the model they choose, they need to apply for all the investment properties. That is also a requirement. Then investment property පහක් තියෙනවා නම් අපිට මෙන්න මේ investment property එකට අපි fair value model, ඉතුරු හතරට cost model. එහෙම බෑ. Right? අපි මොන model එකටද යන්නේ? That is company policy no. Right? We need to apply that company policy for the all set of investment properties. පහක් තියෙනවා නම් පහටම fair value model නම් යන්නේ පහටම fair value model. If we decide we are going with cost model, right, for all the 5 investment properties, we need to apply cost model, right? That is also a requirement. So here they have chosen the fair value model. The building had an original cost on 1st January 2011 of 250,000 rupees and was being depreciated over 50 years. Right? මෙදා වෙද්දී cost එක මෙච්චරයි. පළදායි ජීව කාලය අවුරුදු 50යි. At 31st December 2020, its fair value was judged to be 350,000 rupees. Now we have used the fair value model. So as at 31st December 2020, the fair value amount is this much, 350,000. We need to explain how this will appear in the financial statements at 31st December 2020. Right? So how these things appear in financial statements. Right. Read the question again. Right. This particular building, initially it was what? Initially, we have identified it under property, plant and equipment. Now it is what? Now it is an investment property. PPE tippeka investment property එකක් වෙනවා. So how can we account for this transfer? First, we should know, right, what is the carrying amount as at on which date this transfer happens? On 30th June 2020, right? What is the carrying amount? Initial cost is how much they have given, right? They have acquired this on 1st of January 2011 at a cost of 250,000. Right? Useful life, they have given 50 years. Therefore, what should be the carrying amount? Accumulated depreciation amount for how many years they have used this asset. The transfer depreciation amount kiyada 250,000 over 50 years into how many years? From 1st of January 2011 to 30th June 2020. How many years? From 1st of January 2011 to 30th June 2020. 9.5 years, right? 9.5 years. Therefore, accumulated depreciation amount as at 30th June 2020. How much? 47,500. Right? 47,500. Therefore, what should be the carrying amount? May transfer එක වෙන දවසේ carrying amount එක කීයද? Cost minus accumulated depreciation 202,500. 202,500. This is the carrying amount as at 30th June 2020. Right. Hope it is clear, right? How can we arrive for this figure? මේ figure එක අපු විදිය පැහැදිලි නේද? 2011 ජනවාරි 1 වෙනිදා මෙච්චර amount එකකට ගත්තා. ඵලදායි ජීව කාලය තුනම. So we can find the accumulated depreciation amount, right? We have used this asset till the transfer for 9.5 years. Therefore, accumulated depreciation amount should be 47,500. Therefore, the carrying amount as at the date of transfer should be 2,200 and 2,000, right? 200, 2,500. Right. So here, then further it says what? At 31st December 2020, its fair value was judged to be 350,000 rupees. Right? Fair value as at 31st December 2020 was 350,000 rupees. So these are the figures we have, right? So we know what was the carrying amount as at the date of transfer and what is the fair value at the year end. Now, right, how these things appear in our financial statements. So we are in year 2020, right? We are in year 2020. So how these figure will appear here? Statement of profit or loss and the statement of financial position. Now tell me, as at the year end, right? As at the year end, now this is an investment property. No? What should be the investment property balance sheet investment property amount? දෙදහස් විසි දොළහයි තිස්සක වෙදි investment property කියලා අපේ balance sheet එකේ කීයක් පෙන්වන්න ඕනද? Right? Since we have chosen the fair value model, what is the fair value amount as at 31st December 2020? That is 350,000. Right. So what shall we do? What can we do for this difference? Right? What can we do for this difference? There is a difference of how much? කීයක වෙනසක් තියෙනවද? Carrying amount එකේ fair value එකේ? There is a difference of 147,500. 1,47,500ක වෙනසක් තියෙනවා. මේ වෙනසට මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? Right? Where this difference will be reflected? Where? Right? See, this was initially a PPE, right? The PPE now we are going to identify as an investment property, right? So this is till the date of transfer, this is an PPE, right? So this difference, therefore, we need to treat as the way we treated in PPE. අපි PPE වල treat කරපු විදියට තමයි නැත්නම් LKS 16 වල treat fair value change එක treat කරපු විදියට තමයි අපිට මෙතනදී මේ difference එකට treat කරන්න වෙන්නේ. Why? Initially it was a PPE and then later it converted into a investment property. PPE තිබ්බ එකක් investment property එකට transfer වෙලා. එහෙනම් PPE එකට treat කරපු විදියට තමයි අපි මෙන්න මේ difference එකට treat කරන්න ඕන. ඔක අනිත් පැත්තට උනා නම් investment property තිබ්බ එකක් PPE වුණා නම් එහෙනම් investment property වල fair value change එකට අපි treat කරේ කොහමද? That should apply, right, when we are accounting for that kind of a transfer. So here what we should do? PPE තිබ්බ එකක් investment property එකක් විදියට transfer වුණා. එහෙනම් මොකක් හරි fair value එකේ difference එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ difference එක අපි difference එක මොන විදියට treat කරන්න ඕන? PPE වල requirements අනුව. එහෙනම් PPE වල fair value change එකක් තිබ්බොතින් අපි මොකද්ද කරේ? There is an increase in fair value. Fair value එක වැඩි වෙලානේ. Right? There's a difference of 147,500. There is an increase in the asset value. In PPE, what we have done? PPE වල නම් අපි මොකද්ද කරේ? කොතනද ඔක transfer කරේ? That one we have transferred to a evaluation reserve account, right? 147,500. Right? 147,500. In PNL, what will be there? P&L එකේ මොකක්ද ඇත්තේ? Right? During the mid of the year, we have done this transfer. Therefore, from 1st of January 2020 to 30th June 2020, we have what expense? We have a depreciation expense of how much? How much? 2,500. මුල් මාස 6 depreciation එක විතරයි අපේ P&L එකට යන්නේ. Right? Fair value change එක අපි P&L එකට ගෙනියන්නේ නැහැ. අපි ඒක right LKS 16 වල අපිට ඩිරෙක්ට් කරපු විදිහට තමයි අපි ඒකට ට්‍රීට් කරන්න ඕනේ. LKS 16 වල කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? fair value model එක නම් fair value එකේ වැඩිවීමක් තිබ්බොත් ඒක revaluation reserve එකක් විදිහට අඳුන ගන්න. Therefore that is what we have done here. Right? So transfer එකේදී අපි බලන්න ඕන කොතන තිබිලද මේක එන්නේ. In this case it was in PPE and now we have to identify it as an investment property. Therefore, right, that difference we need to treat as per PPE, as per LKS 60. Right? Make a T accounts වලට දාලා ගත්තොත් right? Assume this is built-in account which comes under PPE, right? There was a cost of this much. This is buildings accumulated depreciation account, and finally we have the investment property account, right? Investment property. Right. Accumulated depreciation amount as at the date of transfer was 47,500. So when it comes to transfer, what we need to do? This accumulated depreciation amount, first we need to transfer to our cost account. Therefore, we debit the accumulated depreciation amount, and that amount we need to credit to our cost account. Right? ඉස්සෙල්ලා මොකද කරීමේ? Accumulated depreciation amount එක අපි transfer කරගත්තා cost account එකට. Right? And now then what we need to do? Right? මෙයාගේ දැන් difference එක කීයද? There is a difference of, there is a balance of how much? 2,200, 200, 2,500. Right? 2,500 එක difference එකක් තියෙනවා. Now what we need to do? This amount, right? This amount we need to transfer to the, right? To where? This amount we need to transfer to where? This amount we need to transfer to investment property account, right? This much. So this is the second entry we are having. එතකොට දැන් මොකද වෙන්නේ? building කියලා අපේ PPE වල කීයකවත් amount එකක් එන්නේ නැහැ. Accumulated depreciation amount එකේ balance එක nil වෙනවා, right? Cost account එකේ balance එක nil වෙනවා. Now there is a fair value increase of how much? 147,500, right? 147,500 වල fair value increase එකක් වෙනවා, right? So this is debited here. Where to credit? we have to credit this amount. Revaluation reserve account, right? Revaluation reserve account එකට තමයි ඔය කියන 147,500 කියන amount එක credit වෙන්නේ, right? So these are the these this is how the double entry should pass. ඉස්සෙල්ලම අපි මොකද කරේ? Accumulated depreciation එක cost account එකට transfer කරා, balance amount එක investment property account එකට අරන් ගියා, right? Fair value difference එක LKAS 16 වල requirements අනුව revaluation reserve එකට transfer කරා. And at the end, these figures will be reflected in our financial statements, right? That is how a transfer can be done. I will upload this answer sheet to your Google Classroom, right? මම answer sheet එක ඔයාලගේ Google Classroom එකට upload කරන්න. Okay. Right? And there are disclosure requirements, right? There are general disclosures, and especially, right, based on our accounting policy with respect to our subsequent measurement, there are additional disclosures as well, right? If we have used fair value model, there are set of additional disclosures. If we have chosen the cost model, there are another set of additional disclosures that we need to make, right? So please go through annual reports, then you can, right, come across these disclosure requirements. Okay. So with that, we will finish today's session. If you have any doubts, you can raise. And with respect to this particular standard, these were the past paper questions. Oh, this is how it has been tested in your past papers, right? 2015 for 8 marks, 16 for 7 marks, 17 for 6 marks, and 2018 for 2 marks, right? So this is also another standard which has frequently tested in your exams, right? So try to answer for these questions and see whether you can answer for these. Okay. So if you have any queries, if you need to make any clarifications, I can help. Okay. So shall we wind up the session from here?